Hi everyone, I hope you guys are well. So it's time to find out the next book I'm going to be reading, and of course it is the 1st of December, which means we are going into my December picks. Very exciting. I took a while going through my books this morning, and I have come up with 5 of them. And just to remind you also that I get to choose which books I read in January as well. So it's not really a problem if I don't quite finish these in December. But let's see what I've picked. Now the first two you would have seen before because I picked them for June. But because I picked 7 books to read in June, I didn't actually get to finish them all. So these are the 2 that I didn't get to touch at all. So I thought, why not have them in my December picks as well? So the first one is the thriller The Couple Next Door, which I was recommended to read by my sister after she read it. I think it was just before June, because I pretty much bought it, and then I think it was probably that next week or so I had it in my June picks. So I've got The Couple Next Door, and I've got the autobiography Child Star by Shirley Temple Black, and I quite like Shirley Temple. I really love old black and white films, as you'll know, and she's a child star from the 1940s, late 30s, early 40s, and I find her life pretty fascinating. And I got this off Amazon for like £2. It's a second-hand marketplace, and it's absolutely perfect condition. So, well, obviously it's a bit bashed, but it's a second-hand book. But I'm really happy to read that. So those are the 2 left over from June. And here are the 3 that are newly picked. So just as usual, I'm going to be doing the back and forth between fiction and non-fiction. And so I've got 3 fiction and 2 non-fiction, just so you know. So that's one of each that I've just shown you. So the next one is one I have been dying to read since I read the first book in June, in my June picks. Which was Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton, and so the sequel, The Lost World. I am so excited to read this. I have been waiting for it to come out of the jars, and unfortunately it hasn't. So the sequel is set, I think it's about 6 years, isn't it? Yeah, 6 years after the first one. The the main character, weirdly, he actually died in the first book, or is implied that he died. And so when I found out that they kind of brought him back from the dead for the sequel, I was like, okay. But that was actually very clever, because technically there wasn't a description to say that he had died. There was nobody who saw like their body when they were dead, or it was just, he was left, he accepted his fate, he was going to die, and he did this grand, big speech, which is absolutely amazing, and then we didn't hear from him for the rest of the book, so it was the assumption that he had died. But I'm really glad that he's alive, and he's the main character of the sequel. So so that's The Lost World by Michael Crichton, set 6 years after the first one, and find out what's going on the island. So the next non-fiction is one that I bought whilst in Stratford in June, the week of my birthday, because my dad had read this book and he absolutely loved it and said, you have to read this book. And I got it, but again, hasn't been picked from the jars. And that is I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. Sorry, he fluffed the surname then. So this is about a man. It was to do with a string of crimes, robberies, which then led to rapes and such in America in, I think it was the 1970s. And then there were crimes much later on which were different, yet they were kind of similar. And this woman, Michelle, she was a journalist, and she got like really obsessed with this case, and she's saying there's a connection here, but no one was really kind of listening to her. And this was her writing. She wrote this book. Very, very sadly, she died before it got released, and weirdly, I think I think it was earlier this year. I don't know exactly when, but because of reopening the case, because of the notice from this book, because of modern technologies and such, the killer has been, the man who he became a killer, so as you'll see throughout these various crimes, he was identified, and he is in prison. I don't think his trial has begun. I'm not entirely sure about that. But this is basically her talking about all the evidence and the links to the crimes and such. This was just a project completely for her. She passed it on to friends to read, and they were like, "You've got to send this off to publishers." And a publisher picked it up, but sadly she passed away. And Dad said it's absolutely fantastic book, so I'm going to give it a go. And the final book I have is one that I'm actually decided I'm not going to pick it until near the end of the month, because I am on leave from work. My last day of work for December is the 13th. Yay, 8 working days to go for me, because I've got a couple of days off. Oh no, sorry, I've got 1 day off next week. So I've only got 8 working days left, and I want to, in that time when I'm off work, because I'm not back in work until the 2nd of January, I want to really focus on a certain book. I want to give it 100% of my focus. So if I wait until I'm on leave, I know that I don't have to worry, thinking about, oh, I've got to go to work and all that jazz. No, I can 100% focus on it. And that book is Anna Karenina. Now, as you may remember, I read War and Peace last year. Or was it the year before? No, it was last year. Because it was January. It was one of the first books that I read. I read last year, and I absolutely adored that book. I had no idea about Tolstoy's writing, how it was so extraordinary. And the story of Anna Karenina, I think, is a really interesting one. I know it from, various radio dramas or TV or film, but I've never read it. And I actually had, when I had my stack of 7 books for June, I actually had Anna Karenina in there as well, but I was like, oh God, no, this is too much. And I felt, because I knew I was going to be doing this, that, the other, and, I was going to be crazy busy during June, I thought if I were to pick Anna Karenina, it wouldn't be right, because I wouldn't be able to give it the time that I want to, just as the time that I did dedicating to War and Peace. So I've decided then that I'm going to put it in December, but I'm going to have it kind of later in the month. So it's kind of over Christmas week, the week before Christmas and Christmas week. I will be reading Anna Karenina, and I'm so excited. So those are my 5 books. Oh, let's pick them up. Those are the 5 books I'm going to be reading. Oh, get my scarf out of the way. There we go for December. But which one am I going to be reading first, aka starting on Monday? Well, I think you can probably guess from my enthusiasm in this video, and it didn't take long for me to decide at all. Pretty much, I've had this first one picked for months, and I'm not kidding you. And it is, of course, The Lost World by Michael Crichton. I am so giddy excited right now to start reading this book. So I am going to be reading that. I'll be starting on Monday, and I'll be back with my thoughts on The Lost World as soon as I'm done. Alright then, guys, bye.